Hey, before we get started, I'd like to welcome you to the Lost.Outside YouTube channel. Alright guys, today's project for the camper. Trying to fix, maybe not fix, trying to make better our AC system. So right now, AC's in the closet. We're running a portable unit. Right here. No sticker collection, but AC portable unit. Problem with this AC is there's not a lot of room for air circulation behind it. So put a vent side of the cabinet, thinking I can get some airflow towards the back, and it does get some airflow. Problem being is it doesn't get enough to take the humidity out of the air. So we got a gauge here sitting at 60% humidity, 78. It's actually a really nice day. So our goal here is to take this vent, print a new one that's powered with fans, that maybe I can get the airflow to come behind it to pull humidity, because right now it's pulling air from the front here and pulling it straight back that direction. So it's not really giving it time to pull humidity out. It'll cool it, just not enough time to get the humidity out. So let's get this vent off real quick. See if we can print something a little bit better. So this is what we came up with. It's before, after. Very little differences. So we got little holes. They were printed, and then for the switch. So the fans, switch. It does have a little bit of flashing from the print. I don't know if you can see it in there. I'm going to clean a little bit of that up first. See if we can get it with the, I think we're going to call it there for now. Looks decent enough. It's still going to have to be tore back apart to be paint matched like the other one. Black doesn't look bad, but it blends in a little better when it's paint matched. So first up, switch. So two position. Kind of hoping when I bought this that I was going to get a forward and reverse out of these computer fans, but that is not the case. So we're going to use both to be forward. Fits right in. Not bad, almost like it was made for it. Next up, fans. I think we're going, I'm mistaken, it's the label out to get the air to suck through this direction to the PC. As I'm putting this together, for you that don't know, there's a reason why portable air conditioners are not typically used in RVs. They're just not efficient. They use a shit ton of power. Most of them have a single exhaust hose, which means that it pulls the air that it needs to cool the compressor from the inside of the camper, which can lead to a negative pressure situation. Also, it's just kind of heating the air that you're trying to cool. They do make portable air conditioner units that have a 2-hose vent, and those are kind of eliminates that problem. But they're also pretty power hungry. I think this one pulls right at 1,000 watts, something like that. And realistically, a comparable window unit would be pulling like 400 watts, 300 watts, 350. So in terms of retrofitting, I did that wrong. Portable units are easier to put in, but they're not really efficient. They just draw a lot of power. So not the most ideal situation. On the bowlers, the roofs aren't meant to hold weight. They're real thin, so you can't really put a roof mount, or it's not the best idea to put a roof mount. Standard RV AC unit just requires some reinforcing. It's just kind of a vintage camper problem versus a modern camper problem. So things you have to deal with. I have to get that one from the floor. We talked about the issue of the humidity. That AC unit has two different vents in the back of it, a top vent that's pulling the air inside the unit, inside the camper, to recirculate and recool. It has a bottom vent that's further down that's cooling the compressor. That's where we're getting the heat and all that kind of stuff. I also noticed that we don't usually camp in the heat of the summer because it's just too hot, but we did this year, and that bottom vent wasn't able to cool that compressor enough to where the air coming out of the outside vent was very, very, very hot. If it's not cooling, it's not efficient, it's not really beneficial. The other thing with the portable units is they hold a certain amount of water in the reservoir before they are supposed to drain, and that water also cools the compressor. But we've noticed before that if we leave the plug in so water can accumulate and cool the compressor, within the night, depending on the humidity, that reservoir will fill and shut off the AC unit. So at that point, now you have to remove the AC unit from the closet without spilling the reservoir, and then dump it outside. And we've run into that situation once before, and it is a complete nightmare. Thankfully, the flooring we have is okay getting wet. It's made for boats, so it's made to be wet, because we spilled most of that water in that camper before we even got it out. A little bit of a nightmare. So now we have a permanent drain. So we don't have to worry about the issue, but the problem with that is now that it permanently drains, it doesn't hold any water in there. So it can't use the water to cool the compressor. So there's a lot of little things, a lot of factors that are kind of pointing towards don't do that. But kind of have to do what we have to do. So got this thing assembled. I am missing one screw here because I lost the nut on the other side. So we're going to forego that one for now. So from here, because we have a double toggle, we're going to basically just double power it. So each side will turn on the fans. It just kind of jumps them over. So no matter which way you turn it, it's going to turn on the fan. The center position is the one that's turning off the fan. So we got that. Now we're going to try to clean up this wiring a little bit. I got these barrel connectors, pretty cheap on Amazon. I think I'm going to try to use this to wire it to the camper. That'll be wired in the closet. This will be wired on the fans. There we go. So let's see what that does. Glue gun is on. You know, I just thought of something. I'm here making these wiring look all good and gluing it down and getting all everything tucked away. But I just said I was going to have to take this thing apart and paint it. So that means one of two things. It's going to be a pain in the butt to take it apart to paint it. Or, guessed it, it ain't getting painted. Decision has been made. Also, these are heat shrink connectors. I typically don't shrink the side that's in the connector just because it makes it too hard to take it off, but I do normally shrink this side. Dang, come on, man. Normally shrink the top side to the wire just so you don't have that tension right there. And I also glued everything down already. So before we go any further, let's see if we can. No, okay. We're going to plan W. Let's go. Try to shrink it once here. You can probably tell that looks a lot worse than it did when we started. Now, I'm going to wire up this barrel connection. Let you know in advance, soldering, it is my thing. I practice regularly. Everything's always real clean, precise. Take pride in my soldering jobs. Just about done with this portion of our project. Switch up, off, down, same. Perfect. Alright. Well, I guess next up is we need to wire that plug in the camper. Alright guys, mistakes were made. I know I said I wasn't going to paint the vent cover, but I put it on. Didn't really like the way it was looking. Kind of saw myself staring at that a lot, being that it was going to be right by my head where I'm sleeping. So went ahead and took it apart, painted it like I said I wasn't going to. And guess what? I broke it. Yep. So what does that mean? See you in 9 hours. We get the next one printed. And we're back. Alright guys, it's been a day. 9 hours print. Sanded, painted. Everything went the way it's supposed to go. Finally, nothing broke. Installed. Everything works the way it's supposed to work. Started testing it. Some tests say it's doing a lot better. Some tests say there's really no difference between with or without the fan. What I can say is it seems like in dehumidify, which is dry on the AC unit, it will dry the air quicker than it used to. AC mode, it doesn't seem like it really made a difference. But the reason why I don't know exactly if it's making a huge difference or not is because as I was putting that vent in, there's two drain lines, a top and a bottom, that sit below the intake vents. The top drain line was kinked. And I have a feeling that was preventing it from draining. Or at least potentially holding a vacuum from the bottom one, since they're both connected at a Y at the bottom. Holding a vacuum until it's making it harder for the bottom one to drain. So I'm assuming the top one drains in dry mode and the bottom drains in AC mode. Don't know for sure. I'm just assuming that. But I did take the kink out. I put a 90 degree in it and it's draining really, really well. I'm getting about a gallon of water drained out every 3 hours, roughly. So that seems like a lot. It seems like I'm draining. On the gauge itself is showing the humidity just dropping really, really quickly. Other thing I changed is after I put a bucket underneath to catch the water to be able to tell how much water I was actually draining underneath the camper from the AC or the dehumidify mode, I realized that the hose that comes out of the camper had a slight U to it. And that U could potentially cause an airlock somewhere in it where it's not draining freely. It's having to fill to a certain point before it can come out. So I went ahead and cut it so it didn't have the hoop anymore, and that also is helping draining. So there's a lot of variables that could have made a bigger difference in this than the vent, but because they're all done at once, I can't tell you exactly which one was the one that made the big difference. What are our takeaways? Vent probably helps with the longevity of the AC unit. The AC unit is going to need airflow. It's going to help just keep it to last longer. In terms of doing what I wanted to do, it really wasn't that big of a difference. I was hoping for a much more substantial gain. You know, at the end of the day, guys, it's just a project. It's something to tinker around with, keep the mind going, learn new skills. It's not a complete loss. It was $25. It was probably worth putting it in there anyway. I'm still going to continue to mod this camper. I'm still going to continue to try new things. It's just, that's the fun part for me. If you have any questions about the project, put it down below. If this project helped you with something you're working with, great. If nothing else, thanks for hanging out. And we'll see you on the next video.